Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here, right now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to stand on that bridge. Love is my decision. No one else can make me forgive. Once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here, right now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down that road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here, right now. All right.
Thank you. I love that song. Love, love, love that song. I think we were talking about Daniel Maymad last week because Richard did that beautiful song of his, but he's an amazing writer. Good morning again, and welcome to One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living. Our practitioner of the day is Relaine Clark, coming to us from Oregon. And I'd love to have you take it away, Relaine, and do our opening invocation. Go for it.
Okay.
Turn it over to you.
All right. So let's all take a couple breaths together. And know that God is breath and spirit and life and love and connection and unity and peace. And I know that as we breathe spirit, spirit breathes us. As we breathe love, love breathes us. And I know that there is an amazing atmosphere and energy that's connecting us all right now together this morning, all of us that are here and all of us that aren't able to be here today. And I know that this amazing connectivity and energy that brings us all together in this beautiful space of grace, of love, and of breath. I know that it's really, truly amazing. And I know that Reverend Michelle's talk is perfect and wonderful today. And everyone's presence and atmosphere and energies adds to the beautiful, magnificent lifting up of our spirits. And so I'm truly grateful for us to be here. And I just say simply, and so it is. And so this morning, I have, once Dr. Martin Luther King was asked what he believed was the meaning of love. And this is what he wrote. Love is the greatest force in the universe. It is the heartbeat of the moral cosmos. He or she who loves is a participant in the being of God. Dr. Martin Luther King. And one of my favorite verses is from Deuteronomy 6:5. You shall love the eternal your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. I have often wondered, what does it mean to love with all their might? And Rabbi Kook said in the Torah, explains that loving God with all your might is to feel gratitude for all of life's situations, no matter what happens in life. And I think it's important to focus on the love of the infinite by giving blessings for the good and the bad things that happen. And as a result of loving the infinite, we can look from a larger perspective rather than from what just feels good and what doesn't feel good. So Rabbi Kook says, by loving God with all our might, we support, and he used the Hebrew word klal, we support the community, the nation, the universe, and all of creation and beyond. So I invite you on this Valentine's Day morning to close your eyes in our centering time, and let us love and be grateful for all of life and the infinite, loving God with all our might, and feeling Dr. King's words of prayer. As we love, we are all participants in the being of God. So feeling this love as we move forward with our service today, I'm going to read our affirmation for February. Today, I trust the journey that life has taken me on. I rise above my fears and doubts, and I keep moving forward in my life. I remember that I'm wonderfully and lovingly created, and today I live as if I mattered. Today, I'm grateful for everything in my life. So it is.
And so it is. Thank you so much, Elaine. Really appreciate it. I love that quote from, well, actually both of them, but I particularly like the one by Dr. King talking about us being participants of God when we love. Beautiful. And it's so in keeping with today's message. Richard has some music for us. So I'm going to take it away, Richard.
Yes, yes. This is a song that Michelle had suggested. I think it's a beautiful song. Um, it's called Everything Must Change. We all know that. I mean, it's been around for a while, and there were some amazing covers for that song. Nina Simone, George Benson, Donny Hathaway, Wes Montgomery, to name a small fraction. I mean, there's a lot of people did that song. Uh, and so it's totally appropriate for any time when we consider the flow of things. And I just wanted to mention that someone so important in my life, a lot of musicians' lives, we've all been inspired by Chick Corea, a great jazz pianist, and he died just this week. Incredibly talented, uh, uh, creative jazz musician. but beyond that, and his actual name was Armando Corea, which was also his dad's name. But this is a song to just kind of sit back, and relax and just feel the flow of it is so beautiful. Everything must change. Oh, there. Can you hear me?
Yes, Richard, you're back. We
It
don't know what.
just, I don't know what just
No,
happened.
yeah, it was very odd, but we can hear you now. So
Okay,
carry
let's
on.
let's hope it stays. All right. Everything must change. Nothing stays the same. Everyone must change. No one stays the same. The young becomes the old. Mysteries do unfold. 'Cause that's the way of time. Nothing and no one goes unchanged. There are not many things in life that you can be sure of. Except rain comes from the clouds, sun lights up the sky, and hummingbirds do fly. Winter turns to spring, wounded heart will heal. Never much too soon. Everything must change. The young become the old. Mysteries do unfold. 'Cause that's the way of time. Nothing and no one goes unchanged. There are not many things in life you can be sure of. Except rain comes from the clouds, sun lights up the sky, and hummingbirds do fly. So everything must change. Everybody knows. We're often so afraid of having to let go. to let go of what we thought we had, of what was holding us. We can only be as free, as deeply as we trust. There are not many things in life you can be sure of, except rain comes from the clouds, sun lights up the sky, and hummingbirds do fly. Everything must change.
Oh, that was beautiful, Richard.
Thank you.
Really, really beautiful. I love that. It brought tears to my eyes, so there must be truth in it. Touched me. Oh, lovely. Something about the quality of your music lately has been really incredible. Maybe it's whatever tweaks you've made to your sound system, but you're such an incredible musician. We really enjoyed listening to you. So good morning again. And welcome to One Heart, One Mind, Center for Spiritual Living's online Sunday service, and happy Valentine's Day, as we've been saying to each other. Traditionally, we think of Valentine's Day as celebrating romantic love. But this year, as I was preparing my talk, I was thinking that it kind of makes sense to include people who we normally wouldn't reach out to on Valentine's Day. Maybe just with a personal note or a phone call, just a few kind words, especially if we know someone who might be feeling alone or isolated during the pandemic. Maybe we can use Valentine's Day as an invitation to stretch out and connect and to support people that we normally might not have done. But I know that many of us are doing that already, but we could use Valentine's Day as a reminder for that. So every year I do this, I look online to see if I can find some Valentine's Day stories, find a new meaning or the origin or a new origin for Valentine's Day. And most of the things that I find online agree that Saint Valentine was a Roman, and he was jailed and later martyred, actually, because he wouldn't renounce his faith. And the story I particularly like is that while he was in prison, he sent a note to a little girl that he'd been teaching. She was actually the daughter of the jailer who was taking care of him in jail. And it was that kind act, sending a loving note to a little girl, that began this tradition of sending Valentine's Day cards. Now, honestly, I have no idea if this is true or not, and it really doesn't matter, but I like the story. And I think it's a reminder for us of just how powerful making a connection with someone else can be. And isn't really, when you think about it, isn't that at the heart of the science of mind teaching? We connect with our source, we connect with ourselves, we connect with each other. There's only one life. So connection draws us into an experience of truth, of unity, and of love. So I like that idea of using Valentine's Day to get us out of the box and move us into a different way of celebrating it. And this month, our focus is one journey, many paths. So I talked about this last week briefly. And we're talking about the many ways that we as human beings think about and relate to the divine presence, how we feel it, how we experience it in our individual lives. and how our individual connection with this presence moves beyond, transcends any one religion or one tradition or one path. We say things like there's one mountain and many different ways to get to the top, or one river and many wells, or one tree and many branches, whatever metaphor we want to use to describe that there is one life, and there are many ways for us to connect with the source of this life, just our creator. In the Science of Mind Declaration of Principles, written by, sometimes we call it the What We Believe statement, but Ernest Holmes, our founder, wrote this. I'm going to share my screen. Let me see if I can get there. I like this little quote from the Declaration of Principles. We believe in the direct revelation of truth through our intuitive and spiritual nature, because we're one. And that anyone may be a revealer of truth who lives in close contact with the indwelling God. Anyone may be, do you love that? Anyone may be a revealer of truth. And we don't have to have some special, you don't have to be clergy. We don't have to do, each of us is an individualized expression of this one light. Each and every one of us is a point of expression for the revelation of truth. I love that idea. I love that term, a point of expression for the divine. Just like anything is a point of expression, just like a song, the song Richard just sang for us, a flower, a giraffe. We are points of expression for this presence. And each of us expresses it in a unique and different way. And it's as if the veil from the invisible to the visible simply opened up and said, hey, how about this? Isn't this cool? How do you like this expression? We're these individual points of expression for God, and we are that now. We don't have to become anything or do anything. That's who we are. So today's talk title is The Infinite Invisible. And I thought this sounded familiar, and I found it in a quote. It comes from a quote by a fairly well-known metaphysical teacher. I'm sure you've heard of him before if you've been in Centers for Spiritual Living very long, or this tradition. It's a man named Joel Goldsmith. And he wrote in a little book called The Art of Meditation, he wrote this. I'm going to share my screen again. I probably could have just left it up. Let me do it again. And here's his, oops, let me move this. Got the same quote. Here's Goldsmith's quote. Love this. In going within, we do not turn to our own spirituality. Oh, I love this. We do not turn to our own spirituality or our own goodness or our own strength or our own knowledge, but we go within to unleash the infinite invisible, to unleash the infinite invisible. What a great line, and it reminds me that when we go within, we're not only connecting with the individualized inner self, right where we are, our individualized soul, if you will, we're connecting with the infinite, invisible, divine presence itself. We're connecting with the same power that created the Big Bang, that created the universe and continues to create everything in every moment. And we're empowered by this presence. We participate with this presence, and we aren't waiting to become something so we can participate. We are divine now. We are participating with the infinite invisible now. Ernest Holmes wrote in The Science of Mind, I love this line. Let me see. I wrote it down. I think I can remember it. It was kind of a side. I thought of this at the last minute. It spreads itself over the whole universe and shouts at us from every angle. I love that. The divine infinite is shouting at us from every angle. It's always embracing us. It's always speaking through us and living its life through us. The infinite invisible within us empowers us to say yes to whatever we want to create in our lives. It makes us co-creators of our lives. It allows us to express our uniqueness, our gifts, our talents, and what brings us joy, what brings joy to our life. And just like any good musician like Richard, or a writer, or an athlete, or an artist, or any human being, we can practice the skills that help us to consciously participate and co-create with this infinite, invisible power that's within us. That's what we do. We can study, and we can practice, and we can strengthen our skills to be able to connect easily with this presence. And the more we do it, the more I do it, the better I get at it, the better we get at it. And we are ready now in this moment. We're worthy now. We're already pre-approved, like those credit card bills credit card ads I keep getting in the mail. You are pre-approved. You are pre-approved to connect with the divine, to express the divine right now. You don't have to become anything else. And there is this element of dedication to our yes when we decide that this is what we want to do. And there is an element of growth and unfoldment and a commitment, if you will, to be able to practice the skills, to learn the skills, to use the skills, to do this every day. But here's the payoff. There is also love and peace and joy and fulfillment when we say yes, and we decide to actively participate in every moment with this infinite invisible. Last week, I talked about some spiritual tools that can help us to create a clean slate. I talked about the Etch-a-Sketch and how we can erase what has been in order to build something new, to unfold in our lives. And I talked about embracing what is, so we can acknowledge and learn from our past experiences, but to not let the past define who we are now, and to not continue to repeat the patterns of the past. Rather, to let the infinite, invisible presence within us inform us about who we really are right now. Because that presence is the essence of who we are. And I talked about learning, enabling, or utilizing practices such as forgiveness, honoring the transitions of our lives as we move through them, and also taking time regularly to rest and renew by practicing a Sabbath, a day of rest. So today I'd like to talk about how we stand on that clean slate, that clean Etch-a-Sketch, to create something entirely new. How we can use the principle of the infinite invisible to consciously create something fresh and new and wonderful. And we do that with conscious agreement to participate with Spirit's loving and creative nature, because that's our nature as well. We are one with this infinite presence. And we've been talking about this a lot in our Sunday services, and also in our weekday evening Zoom meetings. We've been talking a lot about not just using our moments of silent spiritual practice as a time to connect with this infinite, invisible power, but actually using our daily lives as a spiritual practice, about practicing daily how to go with life's flow, and not to push back and resist, but just to let life be what life is. There's a little story that I like to share often, and I know I've shared it before, but it's short and it's sweet, and it illustrates so perfectly how our cooperation and our participation with this power is not only supportive, but necessary to create something new. And the story is called The Lion and the River. It's actually just one little page, and it comes from a book called The Little Book of Letting Go by Hugh Prather. And it goes like this. The lion in the river. After the great rains, the lion was faced with crossing the river that had encircled him. Swimming was not in his nature, but it was either cross or die. The lion roared and charged the river, almost drowning before he retreated. Many more times he attacked the water, and each time he failed to cross. Exhausted, the lion lay down, and in his quietness, he heard the river say, "Never fight what isn't there." Cautiously, the lion looked around, he looked up, and he asked, "What isn't there?" "Your enemy isn't here," answered the river. "Just as you are a lion, I am merely a river." Now the lion sat very still, and he studied the ways of the river. After a while, he walked to a certain current that brushed against the shore, and he stepped in, and he floated to the other side. When I read that story, it makes me feel so peaceful and so confident that life always gives us a way to cooperate and participate with it. But I also have to ask myself, how many times have I roared and charged the river? You know, how many times have I fought what is when there was no enemy? I pushed up against it anyway. You know, and this story really reminds me that my job is to stop and to deeply question myself about what it is I truly believe about life. Do I really believe that life supports me? Or do I really believe that life is working against me? And of course, being the optimistic metaphysician that I am, I want to say that I believe life is for me, that everything works toward the expression of love and for my highest good and for the highest good of all. But if I stop and really closely look at my thoughts and how I feel and how I respond, I often uncover hidden beliefs that say otherwise. Beliefs that are so deeply entrained in my conscious mind and my body that I might not even realize how much they're influencing my life. And here, at this moment, in this moment of realization that I have been fighting with life, that I have been charging the river, this is my cutting edge of growth. Here is where my work lies. Here is where I am called to focus my attention so that I can grow and so that I can move forward and so that I can create something new. And here is where connecting with that infinite, invisible power within me every day, all throughout my day, comes in. I have to practice the skills that allow me to participate naturally with this infinite, invisible power. And just like the lion crossing the river, life will support me in navigating the changes that are inevitable in life. Because if there's anything that I know for sure, just like Richard's song, change is just not a part of life. Change is life. Science of mind teaches that the energy of the infinite invisible is what creates matter. The invisible is causal to the visible. And it is the nature of matter, the visible, to decompose or disintegrate, to degenerate without the flow of energy from the invisible moving through it. So for life to be life, it must constantly change and be in the flow of the energy of the infinite invisible. Change is just not a part of life. It is life. And our job is to embrace this dynamic, changing nature of life so that we can move and change and grow, and we can stand in the flow of our good. And it enables us to continue to recognize and to release any old patterns that we've internalized, and to build new ones, to build new patterns of thinking and feeling and being that are sourced from this infinite invisible within us. New patterns that support an expression of our wholeness and our health and our well-being and our prosperity and our love and our joy. Over the last few months, we've been exploring, as I said earlier, as a community in our Sunday messages and our Zoom meetings, this idea that while it's wonderful to practice daily, to sit down in quiet contemplation and to meditate and to pray, it's incredibly valuable to recognize that our spiritual practice is not confined to these moments during our day, that our entire life, as we move through the business of living, is actually a spiritual practice. It is so important for us to remember that. And as I was writing this down, I remembered that line in St. Paul in his letter to the Thessalonians, and he said this. I don't think I wrote it down there. I have it here, though. He said, "Rejoice always, pray without ceasing, and give thanks always." Oh, God, I love that. Rejoice always, pray without ceasing, and give thanks always. Isn't that what we do when we let our life be a spiritual practice? Always and without ceasing. And I've come to believe that this is what we're called to do as human beings, to consciously apply the spiritual practices or the principles through our practices of the infinite invisible to our everyday living, breathing, moving human lives. Here is where we truly transform our individual lives and where we transform our collective experience of humanity, of the human family and the human experience, when we live and practice this infinite principle. And one of the ways that we practice praying without ceasing is to meet life where it is, without blame and without judgment, to just let life be life. We've been talking about that a lot lately, without commentary, without laying our story over whatever's going on, without resistance. Now, this doesn't mean that we can't change our experience, any experience that we're having, if it is not satisfying to us. On the contrary, when we face things as they are without judgment, we set the stage for creating something new. There's the clean slate. There's the place where we can stand to create something new. It allows us to stand in the presence of what is and to be with it without judgment, to feel the emotions of it and let them move through us. We don't push them back or repress them. And then we can turn our attention to what we know to be true beyond the experience, informed by the infinite, invisible, and presence within us. But we do have to be clear. We have to be really clear that we believe in our power to participate with spirit, to consciously co-create. We have to believe in the power of our word, in the power of our intention. I ran across this funny story that illustrates this pretty brilliantly. I think I can remember it without looking it up. So it seems that there was this small Bible Belt town. And it had historically been dry or alcohol free. And then a local businessman decided that he was going to build a tavern in this town. They didn't have a tavern. He wanted a tavern, even though it was a dry town. And a group of people from the local church, they were beside themselves when they heard the news. They were concerned. They didn't want a tavern in their town. So they planned this all-night prayer meeting to ask God to intervene. And that night, shortly after their prayer meeting ended, lightning struck the bar and it burned to the ground. So the owner of the bar was furious, and he decided he was going to sue the church, claiming that the prayers of the congregation were responsible for the lightning and for his bar burning to the ground. But the church people at the church, they hired a lawyer to argue that they were not responsible. And the presiding judge, after his initial review of the case, he stated to everyone, okay, no matter how this case comes out, one thing is clear. The tavern owner believes in the power of prayer, and the church people do not. So, I thought that was pretty funny. We have to really be sure that we are clear, that we believe in the power of participating with this infinite invisible principle. Otherwise, it's not going to work in our life. We have to be really clear about that. We always have to ask, do my words match what I truly believe and what I'm expressing in my life? And if not, maybe what I think I believe isn't really what I believe. And if not, how can I shift that? On our Tuesday evening Zoom call this past week, I spoke about creating powerful affirmations to use during our day to support us in making our daily life an active spiritual practice. And since there were just 3 of us on the call, there were 3 lovely ladies on the call. We had a lovely conversation. It was very intimate. But because there were very many people on the call, I thought I'd share a bit of what we discussed that evening. We had this fabulous conversation about how to create and to utilize powerful affirmations in our daily life. And as many of you probably know, I'm not going to do the whole workshop, but I will tell you again, affirmations are these short, handy, we can pull them out of our tool belt anytime we want, statements that we can plug into our thinking anytime we notice that our thinking is going in an undesirable direction. For example, if I notice myself worrying about paying my bills, I could say to myself, abundance is available to me now. And because the mind can only hold one thought at a time, my mind will now focus on the affirmation rather than on the negative that I'm struggling to pay my bills. So by having an affirmation ready to use when I notice my negative self-talk kind of seeping in, I'm preparing a tool to help me pray ceaselessly and to help me participate with spirit to shape the kind of experience that I do want to have. So I'm going to share a little slide. I have a little slide that has some characteristics, we will call them, of affirmations. And I'm sure you all know these already, but I'm going to share them anyway. And we really did have some powerful realizations in our little 3-group workshop the other night. So affirmations are short and memorable. You don't want to make it a long, drawn out thing. You want to be able to pull it out at the ready when you need, right when you need it. And it's always about you. Even if your affirmation is about a relationship or something, the affirmation is about you because you are the point of connection with consciousness. They always have to be in present tense. Remember, we don't change anything in the past. We don't alter anything in the future. We create the future in the present moment. Now is the power time. And our affirmations should be positive and affirmative. I see I'd put affirmation instead of affirmative, but you know what I'm talking about. So we want them to state what we want rather than what we do want. I want to stand in the full flow of abundance to pay all my bills rather than, oh my gosh, I don't want to not be able to pay my bills. So anyway, I digress. So those little tools are really helpful to craft a great affirmation that really supports what we want to demonstrate in our life, and I suggest that when you're crafting your affirmation, the first thing you do is ask yourself, how do I want to feel? Because the feeling leads us to the affirmation. And then we'll do the best of our ability through our ability to craft the words that mean the most to us, that activate or resonate with this feeling that we want to have. We craft our affirmation to draw us into that experience when we say it, to create the resonance of that feeling that we want to have. And when I first started using affirmations way back when, I wasn't entirely convinced that just saying the words could create something new. And actually, I still don't think that just saying the words will create something new. It has to be more than just words. You know, we have to have a connection to spirit and a belief, as I said earlier, in the power of spirit to be able to demonstrate good in our lives. So when we say our affirmation, even if it's in the busyness of our day, I think it's important to take a deep breath, to find that connection, to connect with the feeling, and then say the affirmation. I think it's really important to take that moment. And I'm not talking about a long time. 30 seconds is all you need to find the connection, to use the words, and to get yourself into that resonance or flow of what it is you want to create. It's like a prayer, only abbreviated. You know, and another thing that we talked about at our Tuesday night meeting last week was Reverend Leslie reminded us that sometimes just saying the words of the affirmation will raise our thinking up to the place where we can get in touch with the feeling tone of the words of what we want to create. So it can work the other way first. You know, it's sort of a fake it till you make it kind of thing. Say the words if you're not able to have the feeling first. So whatever works for you individually, whatever gets you into that flow, whatever plants that intention into law is what you want to do. So, you know, life requires our agreement, and it requires our participation. If we want to create positive change in our life, we cannot just be spectators. If we want to create something new, we have to participate. And you know, our founder, Ernest Holmes, told us often that we have to prepare for our demonstrations. We have to prepare the way, the environment, the atmosphere of our demonstrations. So I ask you to ask yourself this question this week. What is the one thing that you can do today to prepare for your demonstration? Just if you had to just pick one thing, what would it be to prepare for your demonstration? Where can you create space in your thinking and your feeling to cultivate and nurture an awareness of that infinite invisible within you, and allow it to be your guide, your partner, to be your source for everything that you want to demonstrate, for all of the good that you want to draw forward in your world, because it's all there. So let's take a deep breath and let's go into prayer now. So I know that all there is God. God, the ever present, the good, the beauty, the love, the generosity of spirit, the abundance, which translates into prosperity, into material form. It is all that is. It is the seed and the soil that we tend and the plants that we harvest and enjoy. It is everything, and we are a part of it all. It is not out there somewhere. It is right where we are. We are divine now. We are part and parcel to this infinite goodness that is flowing through us as we step into the river and gently glide across into the good on the other side. So I speak my word for and about each and every person that is present on this call, and each and every person that is not. I speak my word for our beloved country, the United States of America, and to every country that is on the face of our beloved Mother Earth, our beautiful blue ball spinning through space where all life is contained. I speak my word here and now for all of these beautiful expressions, points of expression for the divine, that we open and move into an acceptance, a full beingness, the full flow of all that is sacred and good and loving and present. And that we participate with this good in new and fresh ways, because we are pulled to express life in its dynamic and graceful change. So for this, I am so, so grateful that each and every one of us is now cracked open in a fresh new way that we never thought was possible before. Oh, and we just enjoy in this sense of gratitude and wonder, the openness and the sense of creative juiciness that is available to us in every fresh new moment. So I just relax in this, revel in it, knowing that it is already true, it is already so, and that it is now the infinite invisible is making its way into the visible, into form and matter and experience, and it is delightful. So for this and so much more, I simply relax, allow it to be, and we signify our agreement by saying together, and so it is. Ah, thank you. So this is our time of sacred giving. Recently, I sent out a blanket mailing to everyone with all of the ways in which you can give, and even sent out a stamped addressed envelope if you want to give my snail mail. And I want you to know that your gift goes out to do its work in our community, to transform and change lives, to teach, to be with, to connect all of the people in our community, and so much more. So I'm going to invite you to say the affirmation that I'm going to pull up on the screen right now. Say it with me. Oh, here are the ways that you can give. And here is the affirmation. I recognize that my gift is an instrument of the energy and love of God. As it flows from me, it uplifts and advances all life, including mine. I give and receive joyously. I am so grateful. And so it is. Thank you. And I think Reverend Leslie has some announcements for us.
Unmute, Leslie.
Leslie, you're still muted. Yeah, thank you, Morgan.
Sorry. If you would like to have prayer work done with a practitioner after service, guess what? It is possible on Zoom. And here's what happens. You will go to the chat room and you will click on Reverend Michelle's name and say, I would like to have practitioner work done with, and if you have a preference, name Rob or Robert or whoever it is. And then at the end of the service, she places the practitioner and you in what they call a breakout room. None of the rest of the group can hear your conversation. They can't see you or what you're doing. You do your prayer work with your practitioner, and when you're done, then you come out of the room and back to the portfolio of pictures that you currently see. So,
only one little caveat to that. I am not the host today. Jean is. So I cannot put you in the breakout room, but Jean can.
good.
So if you would like to have prayer, put in the chat to Jean that you would like to have prayer and invite a practitioner, and then she can put you in that room. And Leslie's right. Nobody can, it's completely private.
Yes.
So.
Okay. And then our Wednesday evening class that's facilitated by Reverend Michelle and myself on the book of The Eye of the Storm. We will be covering chapters 5 and 6. And then Tuesday evening is our spiritual inoculation, and I do not know what the topic on that is.
Well, we're not going to have one this week.
Okay.
The Centers for Spiritual Living convention is underway, and they're doing the business meeting that night, and I would like to attend. So we're not going to have a Tuesday evening. I think I did put that in the e-newsletter. But so we're going to skip this Tuesday, and then the following Tuesday, Robert Brown is going to host, and I don't know if he's decided what he's going to focus on or not yet. Have you, Robert? You don't have to tell us yet.
I was actually looking in Science of Mind textbook, And there's a section on page 32 and 33 called Learning to Trust Will Make Us Happy. And that seemed, it was calling to me. So
Is that the Living the Science of Mind or the regular
no,
textbook?
the Science of Mind. the
Oh,
textbook.
okay, cool. Awesome.
So Learning to Trust Will Make Us Happy, pages 32 and 33.
And that is the 23rd of February, I believe.
Correct.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Robert, for letting us know about that upcoming subject. Both of those take place at 6 o'clock via Zoom. And Reverend Michelle always sends out the link for that, for you to participate if you would like to. Okay, are there any other announcements? Okay, we are ready for our benediction then.
If for some reason you did not receive the chapters 5 and 6 for Eye of the Storm, just pop me an email. I did send it to everyone, so you probably should have gotten it, but just in case.
Okay, so let's all just take a nice deep breath and get recentered again. Knowing that with great gratitude and thankfulness, I call this service blessed, and Reverend Michelle's words were blessed as well, leading us to be able to further live in the change that comes from moving our physical, mental, and spiritual bodies even one step closer to source. And I know that each of us is celebrating love today, that it's that invisible thing that can't be really described, but that you only can feel, and that we feel in many, many different kinds of ways, and that we can carry that feeling through our life with whatever we're facing, knowing that that invisible source of love is always there, holding us up, keeping us as part of us because we are one with it. And in whatever our individual direction is, it's still blessed by this incredible source that we call God. And so I release my word into the law, knowing that we move into this week with great joy and rejoicing, knowing that we are one with spirit and that we are blessed to be able to have the opportunity to share that knowledge and that presence together each week. And so I release my word and I release my saying, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Lisa. That was beautiful. Really was lovely.
Thanks.
And we have, let's see, our closing song. I thought we would be grateful today. How's that? Let's be grateful. I'll get that slide up.
Grateful for the morning, grateful for the sunlight on my face, grateful for the feeling, grateful for the knowing, grateful for the love that's in this place, grateful for believing that God is all there is. God is all there is. God is all there is.
Thank you so much, Richard.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I think we can. So, Jean, let's turn off the Facebook and the